Hello everyone and welcome to Snowflake's End Data Disparity movement. Data allows us to better understand and improve our world, and it should represent everyone, but many groups are being partially or entirely left out. And that is what today's conversation is all about. I sat down with Jennifer Wong, former Global Head of Strategy and Business Transformation, Digital Data and AI at Sanofi, to dig deeper. Enjoy. Jennifer, such a pleasure to have you here today. To start with, how has your experience in the pharmaceutical industry influenced your approach to data strategy within the expert panel at Snowflake?
Yes, so first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. I'm really thrilled to be part of the Snowflake community and certainly the opportunity for the conversation with you today. My journey in the pharmaceutical industry, I believe, has really given me a front row seat to a lot of the challenges and opportunities for using data to transform patient outcomes. And through the years, it has deeply shaped how I think about data, data strategy, data governance, data partnerships, and ultimately the importance of all the people that are behind it and who would eventually benefit from a lot of the decisions makings behind the data. Not just the dedicated champions and collaborating around a particular mission, but really about the people and the communities that we're serving in healthcare. So I've had the privilege of being at the forefront of multiple global Fortune 500 biopharma companies, as well as at some very well-respected national organizations in the not-for-profit arena. And each comes with its own leadership perspectives, organizational cultures, and modus operandi when it comes to their business. And at Sanofi, I led global efforts that spanned AI, digital transformation, real-world evidence, data science, responsible AI, you name it. But I worked side by side with a lot of the diverse scientific and technical teams, helping them to think through how they can transform how we thought about and how we can leverage data from the discovery of molecules to the development of new compounds, and all the way through market access and getting therapeutics into the hands of patients. And what I learned at the end of the day is that data alone doesn't create impact. It's all the systems, the governance, the business operations, along with the soft power, the empathy, really all the people that are behind the data that really matter the most. And so data doesn't exist in isolation. It's only powerful when it's connected and when it's considered within the right context and how it can drive meaningful decisions and reflect some of the patient realities on the ground. In addition, I was also at AstraZeneca, at ASCO, the American Society of Clinical Oncology, in the earliest days of forming CancerLink, and at the American College of Cardiology, where again, we built long-term partnerships, scaled real-world evidence programs, integrating data to enable research for care. And so those experiences really shaped me, being side by side with clinicians and researchers, business leaders, government officials, technical talent, and patient advocates. They all grounded me in the importance of getting diverse stakeholders always around a table. First, truly understanding the business and scientific context, and then solving for the right questions and use cases. So data strategy, it always has to be aligned with the needs of the organization and the community that it'll serve. We frequently considered how to increase the value that could come from data, from linking structured and unstructured data sets, how to bring together different data sources that can enable analytics and AI, always to have a more robust picture for insight generation and decision making. And so here with the expert panel, I'm focused on ensuring that data strategies don't just scale technologically, but also ethically and equitably. So these insights now inform my work with us here to help shape and structure and scale those equitable data systems that could work across sectors and geographies.
Well, Jennifer, it's an absolute pleasure to have you part of the initiative. And given your significant experience leading global strategic initiatives within healthcare, what challenges have you encountered within the data and technology development sector?
I would say one of the major challenges I've seen across the board is fragmentation, not just of the data systems, but of the ecosystems and the incentives that surround it. In healthcare, you may have really clinically rich data that's not connected to the social determinants of health, or technology tools that are built without the input from diverse stakeholders or even the frontline providers. So in health, I always say we need to bridge build, not just to build fancy tools. And I think that's what makes our convening power here at Snowflake so exciting. Another challenge I would say is around data interoperability. Even within a single organization, let alone across borders, getting systems to speak to each other is a huge barrier. Oftentimes, data silos rapidly form, different taxonomy, different languages used. Add to that layers of data quality, data privacy, data consent, and you get to see how this gets more and more complex. But ultimately, data is the foundation and lifeblood for all insight and innovation. Applications like business intelligence, advanced analytics, AI, they all rely on really good quality data. But many times we want to get to the quote unquote exciting stuff without having established proper foundations or having cleaned the data sets or having set the appropriate guardrails. And a lot of times I've seen that organizations underestimate the time that's needed, the financial investments that may be required, and the human capital and the human wherewithal for the change management that's really needed. And so I think we have opportunity here to tackle those challenges head on by creating shared data environments that encourage both accelerated innovation and trust. And that's what excites me most about this work and being here in this community.
Well, Jennifer, looking forward to diving into the details. How do you plan to bring together these interdisciplinary perspectives to tackle data challenges within your expert panel role?
Yeah, so my career has really been defined by working across borders and across boundaries, working to drive impacts at the intersection of science, of systems, and strategy. In a world that's defined by complexity and rapid change as being the only constant, I think we're really witnessing a generational opportunity to reimagine health. Not simply as a privilege for the few, but as an opportunity and a right for all. So, as a leader at the intersection of healthcare, technology, public policy, and global business, I'm really committed to shaping a future where every community, regardless of geography, socioeconomic factors, and whatnot, they can all have an equitable access to life-saving innovations. And so, in my various professional capacities, whether it's bringing together engineers or doctors, venture capitalists, regulatory leaders, policymakers, or even patients themselves, I found that the most durable solutions come from establishing collaboration, aligned incentives, and trusts. Um, Oftentimes, I feel as though I've secured my most successful wins when I've had the chance to collaborate with really thoughtful, multifaceted, translational leaders, high on the IQ and EQ, who are super action oriented, speak multiple languages like biology and data science, or technology and policy, or health and business. Um, they're open to understanding multiple dimensions, different drivers, and incentives for informing the broader context. Currently, with my advisory work at the CEO Roundtable on Cancer, we are working to bring together those cross-sector leaders, even beyond the immediate research community, to reach corporate leaders from industry, academia, government, and the nonprofit sectors. So, regardless of the domain or industry, I really believe that progress happens when we break down silos, when we co-design solutions with stakeholders, always working to ensure that programs are sustainable and scalable. And so, as part of the expert panel, I will continue to ask questions to work on challenging the status quo, champion those unique voices, and promote participatory frameworks so that the people who are most impacted by data systems are also the co-creators of them. So I'm committed to ensuring that we just don't bring the technical experts to the table, but also the community leaders, the ethicists, the patient groups, because without those voices, our systems won't reflect and represent the world that we are aiming to serve.
Great to hear, Jennifer. And I love that breaking down those silos. How can you ensure that the data systems and overall strategic directions are aligned with ensuring the SDG's priority of closing the inequality gap?
So I believe that closing the inequality gap requires more than just purely good intentions. It requires concerted design, measurements, and accountability from the get go. I often say that equity must be built in and not just bolted on after the fact. And that means designing systems from the start to be inclusive, ethical, and accountable. That really means also making equity a core requirement in how we think about collecting and linking and activating data, adopting equity by design frameworks that can work to audit data sets for bias to ensure representativeness and to track outcomes. It also means on aligning on shared standards and outcome metrics that directly map to the goals so that we're using common language and accepted data models to measure progress. And most certainly, it means in investing in infrastructure where those data deserts currently exist, especially in traditionally underserved communities. And I wholeheartedly believe that public private partnerships will be key. By aligning investments with policy and technology with social needs, we can develop and drive those systems to reduce disparities rather than perpetuate them further.
Great to hear, Jennifer. Now I want to look towards your predictions and the future for a moment. Given your experience in healthcare and now in technology, how do you think organizations can balance AI innovation with ethical considerations and sustainable considerations? And what are some of the challenges surrounding this?
So, balancing innovation with ethics isn't just a moral issue, it's a business critical and a very strategic one. So, without trust, adoption will fail. Accelerating speed and competitive advantage while achieving responsibly, I believe, is the challenge of our time. And the organizations that win the data and the AI race won't just blindly move the fastest. They'll proceed really thoughtfully, transparently, and responsibly. In AI, we often celebrate scale and efficiency and performance, but without having consensus around core principles, buy in from key players, commitment to ensuring careful guardrails, which can be used to promote incentives and super turbocharge innovation agendas, we may risk deepening existing inequities, model hallucinations, or perpetuating the wrong insights and decisions. And it's not only bad for science and health of our patient populations, it's just bad for business.
Right.
So, one solution, I believe, is to embed responsible AI principles into the development lifecycle. So, that includes transparency, explainability, and human oversight, always keeping humans in the loop. We need these strong governance models that involve and respect diverse stakeholders, especially those who are impacted by the outputs of the systems. So for example, in healthcare, predictive algorithms must not just be accurate, they have to be fair, they have to be safe, and they have to be efficacious across the populations they're designed to help. And so that requires continuous testing, validation, iterations, along with the dedicated community engagement. And that's the kind of thinking and rigor and commitment I hope to bring to the conversations with expert panel. So ultimately, we need those scalable frameworks, transparency, risk benefit assessments, and focus on having inclusive design principles that ensure innovation can reach the people who need it most.
Great perspective and insights, Jennifer. Thank you. In your opinion, how can data be used as a tool for the greatest transformation across advancing global equality? And is there a specific sector or industry which might encounter this first?
Yeah, so I believe that data is both a mirror and a strategic lever. It can be used as a starting point, but it's an incredible enabler, a catalyst, if you will. Data can reveal where gaps exist, but it also equips us and empowers us with the tools to close them. And I believe in health and in education, those may be the first frontiers, the first sectors to experience that widespread global transformation. So in health, for instance, linking clinical data with social determinants and real world data can help us better understand the drivers of health inequity. In education, data can illuminate resource disparities across communities and drive more targeted interventions. And so, if we combine insights from this data with very strategic infrastructure investments, we can really begin to build systems that serve everyone and not just the privileged few. And so, I believe that the key is not just about having the data, it's about activating it in ways for data driven decision making that are ethical, inclusive, contextually appropriate, and locally relevant.
Jennifer, I want to focus back on your pedigree for a moment. Are there any lessons from your experience in healthcare that you believe data companies like Snowflake should embrace?
Absolutely. I would say first and foremost, build for trust. Trust is earned and over time and through dedicated stewardship. In healthcare, we know that trust is foundational, it's fundamental. And without it, people won't share their health data. Systems won't work, patients will suffer, and some unfortunately may die. Second, I would say always design with end user in mind. Don't just lead with intuition and fancy infrastructure, but start with strategic intent always. Whether it's a patient, a clinician, a policymaker, the systems and the solutions that we are hoping to build must be intuitive, fit for purpose, embedded in a workflow where able. And that really means building tools that are interoperable, privacy preserving, human centric, and inclusive by design. And finally, I would say to listen, respect, and learn from domain experts and frontline leaders. They've been in the trenches and they know the bottlenecks and the key pain points. And so take the time at the beginning, figure out and solve for the right problem. Healthcare is incredibly complex with many, many players, policies, and incentives. And in healthcare, it's taught us that outcomes are shaped by local communities and global ecosystems, but ultimately by human behaviors, not just the data elements and the data models and computing power and tech stacks. And so I believe that data companies have to think systematically and not just technically, and be committed to embracing and emboldening and embedding with collaborators for the long term.
I love that. It is so important to listen, Jennifer. And based on your experience in creating a novel health data system at ASCO, what new methodologies or tools are required to achieve enhanced global data collection across health industries?
Mm. At ASCO's Cancer Link, we really focused on, first and foremost, building trust with our providers. So we invested considerably in structuring and harmonizing unstructured clinical data using natural language processing and AI-powered curation, guided by clinical and technical subject matter experts. We used common data models, agreed upon taxonomy, common data elements, and HL7 fire standards to support interoperability and enable the potential for regulatory grade analytics. Going forward, I believe we need to invest in multilingual, culturally contextual tools that can work across both low and high resource settings. So, adopting shared taxonomy and accepted definitions, prioritizing dedicated engagement, committing to long-term relationships, and investing in capacity building in those local communities to steward those systems and get our boots on the ground. I think when done right, these efforts can directly support the SDGs by making health coverage not just a goal, but a really truly measurable and achievable reality. Ultimately, I think that data can really be a force multiplier for global good, but only if we're able to lead with empathy, build trust, uphold responsibility, drive accountability, and just be laser focused on our intent and commitment to systems thinking. And most importantly, keeping people at the core of everything that we do.
Jennifer, very well said. Thank you so much for your time in being part of the End Data Disparity movement. Such a pleasure spending time with you here today.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm honored here to be part of this movement with Snowflake. Thank you.
And for the audience watching, we'll see you soon.